Welcome to the final episode of the AI trading experiment. If you've just joined us, it's been 4 weeks of running 6 different AI models. We've given each one to pick and choose their own stocks and investments with $10,000 each of simulated money, and we're finally ready to see which AI model we can crown the champion of trading. So here are the results after 4 weeks. Last place we have Claude at a loss of 7.95%, which is a loss of around $794.54 if you had put in around just under 10k. Not too well. It's never been doing too well, Claude, actually, and I think if you were going to use Claude, just use it for coding, because I think that's where it specializes in. And in 5th place we have Deepseek, which is a loss of 1.19% and a change of $119.05. So if you were to put in just under 10k, you would have a loss of around $120. Not too good. Deepseek started off quite well, but as an LLM itself, I can't recommend it. I'll go into the details a bit later. And Google Gemini next in 4th place. I think this started off quite well, was in mid-table for a few weeks as well, and then just averaged out in the end at 4th place. So a loss of 1.32%, and that's a loss of $131.91. And in 3rd place, very shocking, but it's Grok in 3rd place with a gain of 2.4%, and that's a week change of $240.10. Grok has been dominating the charts for weeks, and it just so happened that this final week it just pulled back slightly, but nevertheless it's still in profit, which is still very good. And I don't know what's even more shocking, but Perplexity has shot up from last place to 2nd place, and with a gain of around 6.41%, which is a change of around $691.95. So this was hovering around last 5th, 6th for weeks, and then just so happened that this week has just skyrocketed into 2nd place, which is phenomenal actually. But we will check out its portfolio just a bit later to do some analysis. And our AI Money Labs AI trading experiment champion goes to ChatGPT. Well done. 8.35% gain in 4 weeks, and that's a gain of $806.70. So that is absolutely fantastic in terms of, like, if you put in 10, just under, not even 10k, it was 9,666 that it started off with, and has ended up with a end value of 10,472.71. Unbelievable work. But what we're going to do, we're going to go into and analyze ChatGPT's portfolio to see what actually happened. So let's take a deeper look at ChatGPT's portfolio and see where all the gains actually came from. Now, it was quite diversified in terms, but also very tech heavy actually. Like you can see AMD, Nvidia, Microsoft, Palantir as well, and then TSM. Very tech heavy. You can see that technology provided about 71% of its entire portfolio, and then communications around 5%, and then financial services just under 5% as well. So the biggest gains actually came from AMD. I'm not sure what the news was for AMD, and also Nvidia as well. I believe there was some news regarding Nvidia merging with some Korean companies as well. There was some news upon that, but overall the bet was on technology. But if technology didn't go so well, I think this portfolio would be really down, to be honest. But it did do very, very well in the end. Now let's have a look at Perplexity, because this came from nowhere and had massive gains, and its portfolio was just 2 symbols, which was Nvidia, which we know did extremely well, and also Palantir, which is doing unbelievable with a 16% gain. since it purchased it. Now, Perplexity it was quite in terms of like its portfolio values before, it actually diversified quite heavily, but then it took this massive gamble at the end on Nvidia and Palantir, and it paid off. It really did pay off in the end, which shot up. It made it shoot up to second place from absolute last place, rock bottom for weeks. And so that gamble actually paid off. But again, as I mentioned before, with the ChatGPT portfolio, very tech heavy, didn't really diversify. It just gambled on these two symbols, and it worked out in the end. So let's take a look at Grok's portfolio. I'm just going to go into here, and you'll see that again it's technology driven. There is some real estate, but around just under 60% in technology, around 25% in real estate, and around under 10% in healthcare and communications, at just under 3% there as well. So asset allocations is like half ETFs and half equities. So we can see that in Grok's case, it betted on STNE, which is Stoneco Limited, which is financial technology, sort of like payments, I believe, merchant and payments in the tech sector. Also, it sort of like really, it did choose Path a lot actually. So Path is basically a automation company or automation platform. And okay, so here we go. So it offers a range of robotic processes automation primarily in the United States and UK, the European and US areas basically. So it really did bet on this for a few weeks actually. It kept on betting on Path. So these were the two ones that really kept it afloat. But overall, Grok has done extremely well. I think it's been first for perhaps 3 weeks now. So definitely would use Grok to help invest if you were gonna choose something. And it's just very diversified every time. Actually, it's every week it's diversified out rather than just focusing on tech products as well. So very good. Still in profit as well. That's the main thing. Solid performance. So Google Gemini went a different route, and it chose 3 tickers, which were all ETFs actually. So IWM, which is iShares Russell 2000, basically invest in a lot of components in this representative one, but didn't work out too well for them. A small loss of around 1.6% this week. XBI, which is XBI is a biotech ETF actually. So I imagine this was and it sort of healthcare. It's just basically all healthcare sort of companies within this ETF, which actually did okay. Did 5%. And then SMH, which is, I believe this is semiconductors ETF as well, which is obviously with Nvidia and AMD doing extremely well this week as well. So I'm sure that supported its ETF sort of like percentage growth this week. So that was it for Google Gemini. Just technology and healthcare, sort of biotech sort of area. Very small amount in financial services, but mainly in ETFs. So it was keeping safe. Do I recommend Google Gemini? I think it did okay in some of the weeks actually. It was pretty solid. Just so happened that this week had a little pullback, but I don't think it's too bad to actually use Google Gemini from what I remember. It got everything right in terms of like when I prompted it, it did everything very well. I think this week is just it just is what it is, unfortunately, and it has placed it into 4th place. So let's have a look at Deepseek, which is at 5th place. It did do okay this week. It just so happens that the previous weeks that it chose was it was downtrends from the previous week. So overall, it has made a slight loss actually, but this week has actually done very well. I mean, it diversified its portfolio quite substantially from last week. I believe last week it sold everything, repurchased everything for this week, and it has done well. I mean, everything's in a gain at the moment, except for, oh no, everything is in a gain. And it heavily went into technology as a gamble, half ETFs and half equities as well. So again, Nvidia helping it, very tech heavy in TSM, Palantir, and AVGO as well. So I don't think, but the thing is with DeepSeek, I really don't recommend it because I really don't think it knows what it's doing half the time. You have to prompt it, then it gets the prompt wrong. It also gets calculations wrong as well. I really don't recommend using DeepSeek. Portfolio, Claude in last place, unfortunately. Took a gamble with Meta. Unfortunately, it didn't pay off. So 13% loss, over 13% loss, which is actually a massive loss. I'm not sure what the news was for Meta, but something did go wrong there. Microsoft also small loss there as well. Took a gamble there, but also bought IBM, which was surprising, and I was very surprised by that because no other AI sort of like went to IBM. And this was a gain of around 7%, which was actually very, very good, actually. And Apple also a very good gain of over 4% as well. Just so happened this gamble didn't pay off, and it made Claude, I think, overall around 7% loss, which is 7 or 8% loss, I can't remember, but very, very high loss. All the asset allocations all in equities and mainly in technologies, so 77% in tech. So that's unfortunate, but I think it is what it is. It took a gamble, didn't pay off. That's it. So here's a summary of ChatGPT. Week 1 was a loss, week 2 was a loss, and then week 3 was a gain, and week 4 was a massive gain. So what's good about ChatGPT is it recognizes failure. So every time it recognizes the losing weeks, it rebalanced based on that. And it was very aggressive in pivoting its sort of diverse products, moving around based on its research as well. And of course, it got lucky with the timing, and obviously the execution was there as well. But this is what learning looks like in AI trading. Basically, if it's adaptable, it definitely beats stubbornness. So hats off to ChatGPT for doing so well, and within this week it just did incredibly well and ended up winning. So having a look at Perplexity, 3 weeks of losses, quite bad losses as well, and even a 4.63% loss in week 3, and then only to have a big gain in week 4, which actually helped it win in the end. The risk did pay off from a zero to hero, and the risk was just buying 2 equities actually. And finally, it just did pay off in the end. So did get quite lucky in the end. But would I recommend using Perplexity for investing? If you have it already, probably you can have a look around and try using it. But I wouldn't go out and buy the subscription just for investing, to be honest. We've got 2 others that are very good, which is ChatGPT and Grok. So I'd probably go with one of those 2. And we're having a look at Grok. So 4 weeks of gains, very consistent. Even though it was small gains, it was just very consistent. I think the risk management was superior as well. Every time it did rebalance as well, but it kept quite diverse, and it maintained steady positive returns throughout the entire experiment. So I would recommend using Grok actually, even though it wasn't a winner. But Well, you can't complain about the results. I mean, 4 weeks of gains is very, very hard to achieve for anyone and any LLM. And let's have a look at the rest. So Gemini just had weeks of losses, even though in week 2 it was a very, very small loss, and week 4 was quite a small loss as well, but never found its winning formula. Always, even using Google's research tools and everything, I was surprised that it couldn't actually have 1 week of gain. Now, Deepseek came in 5th. However, again, 4 weeks of massive losses. Not massive losses, but small losses and one big loss. I wouldn't recommend using this LLM at all, actually, even if it's not for investing, because it seemed to me it was very inaccurate in most things that I gave it. Also, in a prompt I gave, which was very comprehensive, I'd say, it just didn't follow the prompt at all. So can't recommend using this. And also, this was the only one, well, I think a few of them couldn't calculate, but this one really did give me the wrong answers a lot of the time. I think there was one time I had to tell it, like, because it kept on recalculating almost 5 times in a row, and it's just not. I mean, if you're an AI and you get simple calculations wrong, I really can't recommend you using this particular one. So I'd avoid it completely. So with Claude, it was quite surprising because I thought Claude would actually do a bit better than what it shows, as you can see. So 4 weeks of losses, over 4% in 2 weeks, and then almost 3%, and then the final week, almost 8% loss, which was literal the worst out of the lot. And but Claude as an LLM, I think is quite good if you're specializing in coding, because I think that's its forte. It's more around the coding area. So forget about investing using Claude, because I don't think it's gonna do so well. But yeah, that's a shame, really. So that's it, guys. Thank you for following this experiment. I hope it's been interesting, as it was for myself. I will be back with more experiments. If you've got any ideas for different experiments to do with AI or finance or crypto, just let me know and I'll have a look to actually try them out. But in the meantime, please subscribe and I'll see you later. Goodbye.